Hello, I'm Hal Lublin.
And I'm Mark Gagliardi.
Since the dawn of humanity, one issue has gone unsettled. With the fate of the world in the balance, we're here to settle once and for all.
Where should I put this?
That's right. Don't worry, everyone. We got this.
Podcasts should have a theme song. Podcasts should not have a theme song. Yes, they should. No, they shouldn't. They sound good. Yeah, but people are just going to skip past it. You know what? You're right. We got this.
Well, Hal, it's the time of year for organizing.
Is it?
It is.
Any more than any other time?
It absolutely is. Lunar New Year, a thing that I learned, is a great time. The 2-week period of the Lunar New Year festival is a great time. Actually, you're supposed to do it leading up to Lunar New Year, but I'm always a little bit late on everything. The point is, it's a good time to organize your life. So I wanted to talk about organizing. Originally, Annie asked me one day, she was like, what do you do? We got into a discussion about organizing chronologically or by categories. And so I thought that would be an interesting thing for us to discuss on here. It turns out there are 5 methods of organization. Now, those 2, I think, are going to be in contention at the end. We can get to that in a minute. You and I talked, and then we decided we were going to do it about organizing a collection. You are a collector of things. What is your relationship with organizing a collection right now?
It depends on what the collection is. That was why when you brought this to me, I was like, I think it's too nebulous because it really depends on what it is. So I have Star Wars toys behind me. They're organized in somewhat haphazard fashion. I have where Jabba is. You can see him over my shoulder, over my right shoulder right there. You have him, the Max Rebo band, and then a couple of the figures that are part of his whole deal are there with him. That's all that's on that shelf. The shelf above it is like core characters from Star Wars. So you have your R2-D2, your Luke Skywalker, Lando Calrissian, Yoda. All of those are core Star Wars characters. And the others are just, it's maybe a little more chronological. Here, The Empire Strikes Back into the later stuff. But I also keep a spreadsheet of everything that I own so that when I'm looking for stuff, if I'm in a mode where I'm trying to buy something, I'm making sure it's not something I already have that isn't out on display. So I have a spreadsheet for that where it's alphabetical by the name that appears on the package and then the year it came out. And then for what it is, how many things are on the back, like how many the figures are on the back, because that's the way you organize it. And then is it carded? Is it punched or unpunched? So I can organize it a bunch of different ways. That's for that.
Right. The way you organize this, is there an element that this is the terminal of where these toys are going to be? Or is this a thing that is flowing through and you are maintaining a lot of these things with the intention of offloading one day, maintaining resale value?
I would love to just expand what I have and not have to sell it. The time may come where I do have to sell it. I have some pieces that I would like to sell because I have ones where it is a double.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the market looks like right now. I don't want to get into the world of selling right now.
Yeah.
But I will give you another example because that's maybe a weird example. I have a huge DVD collection.
Yeah.
I have the second largest DVD collection of the 3 people on this Zoom. I am a distant second to Ken, but pretty far ahead of most normal people. That is organized, has always been organized in 2 ways. One is just generally alphabetically. That's how I had it when I had all of them out in bookcases. It was always alphabetical because that made it way easier to find anything, right? So if I'm looking for Karate Kid, I just have to look over at K. That's like a lot of it. Like it depends on what are you collecting. If it's something where you're going to get out and use it, or if you're going to get it out and read it in the case of comic books, you have to have it organized in a way that you can easily access it, right?
Right. Yeah. I think you have to have it.
Why did I forget how to say that word?
Access it.
You know what? I think I'm not okay. Sometimes, every once in a while I sit there and go, oh, I'm functioning right now. But under the surface of this, the duck's feet are about to fall off their paddling so hard.
Well, why are you paddling so hard?
I think everybody is.
Oh, you mean just globally with the world right now?
I think most people. Yeah. And then you add on top of it whatever your normal stresses in life are. Yeah. So it just compounds and is very difficult. And that's why I'm latching into this. I'm like, oh yeah, I do collect stuff. But when the DVDs were out, they were organized alphabetically. When I moved them all into binders, then it became first by genre. And then in each genre, it's alphabetical. So if we decide we want to see a comedy, you pull out the comedy binders, and I know they're going to be in alphabetical order. And I don't collect them anymore, so it's a lot easier to keep it that way because I don't have to move stuff around or shuffle it.
Because that's interesting. DVDs, I think, are an interesting part of this because that's a technology that's gone away. Not gone away, but has been surpassed by another technology.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't need a DVD collection anymore because I have digital versions of all of these movies. Now, that said, what I had on that TV right there this afternoon was a VHS version of Empire Strikes Back from 1995 because I wanted to see the original version of the scene on Hoth. You know what I mean? Like, there are reasons to keep them, obviously. It's a tactile thing. There's sentimental reasons, or just if that's however you like to collect. And we should say that, like, people have all kinds of collections. You collect whatever it is you want to collect. We're just gonna, we got this as far as how you should organize it. But for me, digitally organizing things, I tried doing it by categories. Alphabetizing is easy because if there's a little clickable button for something, then I don't have to worry about being the one that does it. You know what I mean? So then for me, digitally, it's all categories.
Yes.
Which I tried to do with photos for a very long time.
That's what folders are for.
And albums, it turns out. I was trying to divide up everything into albums and, subfolders within albums and things. But really, at the end of the day, I was like, it's just for me, a chronology is the way of organizing that. And it sounded like you had a little bit of chronology within Star Wars. You were like, here's New Hope, here's Empire, here's Jedi.
Yeah. I mean, it's in a way that makes sense to me. I mean, look up. Yeah. Up top, you have Darth Vader and C-3PO and R2-D2. They're all from the 12-inch collection, so they're all standing together. And then it's just, I think these look nice together.
Yeah.
I think the vehicles to my right up here, I think those look good. It's sort of organized like that. And then up here, those are all from the same collection. And then down here are two more from that collection. So it makes sense to me. Now, the books, that to me is interesting too.
How do you do your books?
Under the Hoth playset right here, there is a shelf of books that's all written by friends. They're all people that I know. And I have other books elsewhere that are also written by friends that just didn't fit in there. So I have like the Adventure Zone books by the McElroys. I have Acker's book. I have the Night Vale books. I have some of Lindsay Kelk's books there, like just people who I know who have written a book. Hodgman, if somebody's written a book and I have it, I put it there. I have Ken's books separately because they're so large, but they would go on that shelf were there room.
That to me is a thing that drives me nuts with books in particular, because I would love to have, I have a lot of books and I would love to have my books organized entirely by category. Alphabetizing, I don't have enough of each category that alphabetizing would do me much good. But I would love to have everything in categories. But the way that the bookshelves I have are built is there are certain shelves that are always going to be real big and a couple of shelves that are always going to be real small. So it becomes, with books, frequently a spatial thing as well. Like you mentioned it, like you have this bookshelf is for all of books written by friends, which I also have. It delights me that that is a section that I get to have.
Yeah.
So it's always a couple of different ways that we wind up organizing things. The first one that you mentioned was the Star Wars figures. That was all done by location and category. And then you mentioned the DVDs. Those were all done by alphabet and category. And then you talked about the books, and that was by category and location. So there are these different ways to look at ways of organizing. Originally, this was for information, but for stuff. Why don't we take a quick break? And then when we come back from the break, I'm going to break this down for you. I think you'll get a kick out of it. How's that sound?
Kick away.
All right. You're not going to pull the football out from under?
Come on, kick it. I believe in you.
I'm going to get it this time.
I threw the football at your face.
Oh, man, this is worse than in Peanuts.
Yeah, you don't want me to pull it away?
Whose best character is... Better go listen to another episode and find out. Here's a break.
In 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Put on your gecko shorts and grab your pogs. We're celebrating MaxFunDrive, 90s style.
Support the shows you love.
And get some rad retro-themed gifts.
Meetup day, bonus content, and more.
So don't miss it.
On the World Wide Web, March 17th.
Somewhere in an alternate universe where Hollywood is smarter
And the Emmy nominees for Outstanding Comedy Series are Jetpackula, Airport Marriott, Thruple, Dear America, We've Seen You Naked, and Allah in the Family.
In our stupid universe, you can't see any of these shows, but you can listen to them on Dead Pilot Society, the podcast that brings you hilarious comedy pilots that the networks and streamers bought but never made. Journey to the alternate television universe of Dead Pilot Society on MaximumFun.org.
All right, Hal.
Yeah.
Here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about TED Talks. You're familiar with TED Talks?
Yes.
Okay. Are you familiar with the guy who invented the TED Talk?
Ted?
You know, one would think that it was a TED. It was not. It was a Dick. In fact, it was Richard Saul Wurman who invented the TED Talk.
Yeah.
But before he invented the TED Talk, he's always been a thinker and a communicator and a professor, and written a million books. But in 1990, he released a book where he talked about organization falling into one of 5 different categories. Those categories are location, which we've talked about, whether spatially or on a map or in a space, alphabet, time, a chronology, category, or hierarchy. Hierarchy being like, here are the top 10 most populated cities, or any type of top 10 list, or like a lot of the stuff that we do here. So let's talk about organizing a collection. And by the way, the acronym is LATCH, so you can remember it. Location, alphabet, time, category, and hierarchy. Is there a way of organizing a collection that is either one of these dominant with another one as the sidekick, 2 of them working in perfect consort, 2 of them working in perfect consort with one periodically jumping in to antagonize? Like, if you've got a lot of stuff.
Real romantic comedy you've set up between these organization methods. I do have one that I think is kind of number one, with the other one as the sub. And I've already sort of set it up, but I do it with comics as well.
Mm-hmm.
The beauty of having a collection or having a bunch of things is as long as you can get to them and it makes sense to you where they are, and not everybody has to access them, then you can really use whatever organization you want. If you collect Star Wars toys that are still packaged like I do, you could be a show off and go, I want them in order of release. So I'm going to put them in a specific order, the order in which they release. And even that's kind of imperfect because they were released in batches. Generally, the first 12 came out as the first 12. So how do you organize there? Do you do it alphabetically? Do you do it by importance? Do you do it by the order that they appear lined up in the painting on the back? That's your choice. But like,
are they not in a numerical order on the back? Listen,
eventually they are. Eventually they get put in a numerical order. So you could just use that as your guide and go, I'm going to put it in the order that's on the back. And then as they get added, you have numbers 1 through whatever it is. So 84, I think, something it wound up being.
Which is in both ways hierarchy. Whether it's numbering them or putting them in a specific order for a specific reason.
But that's also chronology too, because it's the chronological order in which they came out.
The ones on the back. We're talking about the back of the Kenner card.
Yeah, I think so. I have to look again. I have a bunch up on the wall in front of me in this poster, but they're small as they're presented in the poster. I have to be right up on it to see. For comic books, and also record stores do this a lot of times. They just have it alphabetically. Yes, you're looking at different areas. You have jazz in one area and rock, heavy metal, rap, new age, world music, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It ultimately comes down to alphabetical. Because if I want to find Buck Owens music, I'll go to the country section and then I know to look under O or under B. It'll be under one of those, whether they do first name or last name. Doesn't really matter. That's, again, his choice. But in general, it's alphabetical. For comic books, it's alphabetical. Mine are all in alphabetical order. I don't separate them, Marvel and DC. Within that, so all the Avengers I have starts with the earliest and then goes to the most recent because they have numbers on them.
Right. When that's a chronology, that's a hierarchy,
but it's
and
alphabetical
a chronology.
first. Alphabetical first.
By book or by character?
By book. Okay. No, because they all appear in different things.
That's fair. Yeah.
So I'm not.
But that's the thing. A lot of comic book shops and they'll do it by lead character, which is a category version, obviously.
Will they?
I've seen a lot of places that'll do that. Like, here's all the Wolverine books. here's all the Spider-Man books.
I get, but yeah, that's like if it's like a special shot. That's to get you to buy it, though. That's not how you're going to display it when you collect necessarily.
But I think you made a good point.
You can find it.
I think you made a good point about record stores. And record stores, how I would set up my record collection at home the way that I would expect a record store to, which is this is by sections of category. Again, my collection is not large enough to require alphabetization. How many DVDs are we talking about?
I don't know. I think like 1,500 titles. Or 1,000 titles, something like that. And that's spread out amongst one or more, some of them are box sets.
That's a lot of DVDs.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
And I bought them all.
Yeah, I did a big purge of my DVDs years ago, but I kept ones that I was like, I feel like this might not ever get released digitally. You know what I mean? That's my hard copies are of things that I don't know that would be hard to get.
Everything gets ripped and released digitally. Ken brings up a good point, which I sort of touched on, which is when you have a very large collection, some of it might be divided into like things that you display and use, and other things are in deep storage.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What is your rotation cycle for that going to be like?
Mine is just,
is it going to be every 5 years, or?
It's just what I have room for. I don't have I'm still from when we fled to get away from the fires for a little while. I'm still putting stuff back, but I'm taking my time. And if you look, it's a mess down here of stuff.
Oh my goodness. How?
The reason why is because I want to put it away properly so that I can either access it and also look at stuff that I just don't need anymore, that I've just been carrying. In the course of your life, you carry stuff around that you don't need.
That's why this keeps coming up. You know what I mean? That's why I've become fascinated with systems of organization, because the collection is getting bigger. You know what I mean?
Yes, I'm a sentimental person. I keep a lot of stuff, and historically I've kept a lot of stuff. And then Jennifer got into the magical art of tidying by Marie Kondo and her KonMari method, where you look through things and go, if this doesn't bring me joy, if it's not something that I have an attachment to, I'm going to let it go. And I use that to take tubs of keepsakes and put it in a bin that's like this big. One bin. Yeah. And I couldn't tell you what is not in that bin that I got rid of, because I don't care. It didn't mean enough to me to remember it and hold on to it. It was just stuff I had because I had it. And the stuff that I do have, when I look through it, which I do once in a while, it means a lot more to me. Because I remember, I know why I kept everything in that bin. So applying that, I want to apply that to everything that I have here to see if there are things that have been sitting in boxes in the little closet in this room because I didn't have space to put it out, and there was a someday in there that may not really come, and just look at it and go I don't need this. I want to either give it away or sell it or do something with it, but I don't need these. It doesn't. I got them to have them, and they've served their purpose. And you're actually supposed to do this in this method is you thank it, say thank you.
Oh, yeah.
And then you say goodbye to it.
I'm familiar with the method. I have frequently wound up using it when I'm trying to get rid of things. And the saying thank you thing is a big part of it that I really appreciate. Yeah, I mean, that's if you are culling your collection. I'm talking about, do you have a rotation of display versus storage?
No, it's just how much stuff there is. The stuff I have put away is stuff that I either don't have the case to. So I have a Princess Leia on the card that I don't have an acrylic case for yet. When I have an acrylic case for it, it'll go up and be displayed. If I don't have an acrylic case for it, it doesn't go up because I like to have the shades open, and I don't want things to get sun damage. You have to put it in UV protection to make sure that doesn't happen.
I didn't know that those acrylic shades were UV protective.
Yes. Yeah, that's the whole purpose of investing in those things, is to maintain the integrity of stuff that I've collected.
You don't want a tan Darth Vader cardboard?
No, I don't. As much as only if I'm eating it.
That's fair.
That's the only time I like things tan.
Yeah, if you like tan Darth Vader, it's because you're having him as a caramel popsicle. And also, if you're making a caramel popsicle of Darth Vader, no, make a much darker colored popsicle. His clothes are all black.
Yeah, a licorice.
Yeah, exactly. But who's going to eat a licorice popsicle?
My grandmother, if she was still alive, or maybe she's a zombie and she would still take that instead of brains.
You know what? As a human, I don't know which tastes worse.
It's true. You'd rather eat brains than
maybe
licorice.
Did you ever eat brains? That was the little cans. Yeah, that's
alligator
very southern.
is as crazy as I got. All right, I'll try alligator.
They're tan. You might like them.
I don't. They are, but I don't. I mean, it's like chicken. It's fine.
So how important to you is a complete collection?
Very, but how important it is doesn't always line up with your ability to do it. With comics, I collected the entirety of a 17-issue run of a group called, I think it was the Champions, which is a really weird kind of offshoot, didn't take off Assembly of Heroes in the 70s. And then the original Secret Wars, I have the entirety of that run. I have all of those.
Kidding.
Yeah. And that was, I think, 12 issues. That and Secret Wars 2. I collected both of them. And that was when I was younger and they were a little less expensive to come by. So we would go to comic book shows, my dad and I, and that's what I would always look for, see who had it inexpensively. And then it was fun. It's fun to fill it out. The Star Wars stuff, there are so many different definitions of what a complete collection is.
Yeah.
Is it, if I have one of every figure, is that a collection? Or do I have every variation of every version of that? Like just the 12 pack alone, I think there are 4 different versions of every single figure on the card. I don't have $1 million to have all of them. I don't think that I would want all of them. There are some I would like, but that's the thing. It's in the eye of the beholder. What about you? Do you like, for things that you collect, do you want every single one of them or?
Well, I like using, I like when something is a complete set, then my work is done for me a lot of times. If I can get the complete set I'm not as much into the hunt. It's just if there's something I like, I will try to complete the set. But I frequently collect things that are inexpensive and I'm not really doing them. All of my collections are for me and not for any version of resale value. I've only ever collected things that I've liked and I usually keep them small. Like I'll give you an example of a complete kit. Or a complete set. I'm also a kit fan. Anything that comes in a kit, give me a box with little separate spaces for all of the different things I'm going to need and whatever I'm doing. Great. I love it. But as far as a set goes, I have all of the presidents through Obama. And it's in my mind, a complete set of these presidential Pez dispensers. So I have a Pez dispenser with the head of each president on it. And I'm like, hey, that's great. That's a collection. That's a whole collection. I got all of them. I didn't have to do anything to get it. Hey, there's a couple more you can add now. No, thank you. One of them I would take, but if I take him, I have to take the other one and I don't feel like taking the other one. So I'm going to let my collection stop at a certain point in time. Yeah. But do you have to have amassed it yourself for it to be a collection? Otherwise, is it just a set?
You mean like if I bought, let's say I wanted to, so when I was a kid, probably similar to you, I had all of the first 3 series of Garbage Pail Kids. I had them all, didn't pull the stickers off, didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So I had them all. They disappeared at some point. I don't know where they went. Who knows what happened to them? Lost to history and time. If I had an inexpensive way to buy them all at once and I wanted them, I would do that. It's still collecting.
Yeah.
I don't need to find each one individually. It's just rare and very expensive. Like Mark, these groups I'm in, these collecting groups on Facebook, there's a guy I cannot figure out what he does for a living outside of buying and selling Star Wars toys. Cause he'll go like, here's the latest haul. And it is what looks like a van load of pristine packaged Star Wars toys from all over. Like I'm looking at something where it is easily in the tens of, if not low hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Whoa.
Of merchandise. And I don't know how, like, he's buying it from other, like there are collectors who want to sell all their stuff. It's just easier to sell it all than it is to part it out because you don't want to do the work. And so people will come in and buy entire collections. I talked to a guy on the phone when I first started collecting who was like, hey, if anybody's looking for figures, let me know. And I had a whole conversation, couldn't have been nicer, but the figures he was throwing around for stuff that he buys and sells, it was like $250,000.
Yeah.
And that's money you have to be able to. Yeah. Oh, I bought 3 of them. You have to be able to spend that amount of money and then have money left over to eat and house yourself and clothe yourself and
make change for whoever buys them if they pay with a bigger bill.
And make change. You have to have the little change belt like my dad had when he was the Good Humor Man.
Oh my gosh. Your dad was a Good Humor Man?
He was. College.
Of course he was. Of course he was. Yeah, so I'm looking at my collections that I have collected of things and your collection of things, and you put it perfectly with the Garbage Pail Kids. You kept them in the package, or you said, I never took the stickers off of them. You know where I kept my Garbage Pail Kids, Hal? The dresser in my closet looked like the bathroom at a punk club. It had so many stickers on it. It was all Garbage Pail Kids.
Yeah.
My whole dresser was covered in Garbage Pail Kids. And I thought they were hilarious.
Sure.
Sean. Oh, he's scraping his head off.
Yep.
His
Messy
head's already
Patsy.
shaved.
She's got boogers all over her.
Oh, the best. The names sometimes change, but the pictures remain the same.
Yeah, they're twins. There are two of each one. Uh-huh.
Is that what it is? There's two of each Garbage Pail Kid?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
No, I had no
names.
idea.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the movie?
I did.
Was it any good?
What do you think?
Yes.
Then it was very good.
I don't want to see it because I don't want that to be ruined.
It's Schrodinger's movie.
All right. So I want to get back to of these methods of organization because that's what we're figuring out here.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically for different, there's lots of, as we're finding, there's lots of different types of collection. There's your Star Wars toys collection. There are DVD collections. There's book collections, which we haven't talked about the worst way of organizing your books. Or
Color.
maybe it's not the worst. Yeah, color. I was going to say, is it ableist for me to say color is the worst way if somebody has that for a particular reason? If that's the reason, then you do you. But if it's just because on my Zoom screen, having a rainbow behind me is the best. Come on, man. You've had to take all of your dust jackets off your books.
No, my friend Bonnie organizes that way, and I think her shelves look beautiful. I actually like it. I don't have the patience to do that. I appreciate the way other people collect things. I don't do it that way myself. Just because I don't, for like the book collection, I don't care enough to invest the time to organize it that way. Like I know down there is like in the below middle here are larger books. That's where Ken's books are. It's also stuff that's like close to me, like my yearbooks, books I had when I was a kid. Those are like in a specific place so I can access them. But organizing them by color, I love the look of it. I don't have a space that I think lends itself to that. I don't have a whole
I'm just jealous of it too.
Here. You're jealous.
I'm jealous of it because I can't do that. I have like, if I had an all red shelf and then one red book was too tall for the red bookshelf, but it fit on the blue shelf. What are we even doing here? I would have to have those. I would have, you know what I would have to have is I would have to have one of those office rooms in my apartment where the walls themselves are like shelf cubicles. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I'd have to have one of those rooms. And then that's what every expert on CNN has behind them.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to have that kind. And that on a white, you know what? I don't hate it. I wish I could do it. But that, see, the thing is that then it goes back to it being an organization method only for you.
Right.
How many of the organization methods that you use are organization methods only you could figure out? Or that you have any interest in other people being able to understand?
Really only Star Wars. I don't have enough records to organize them. I haven't taken the time to organize my records. Or my CDs are like a mess. I still have all my CDs and they're kind of they're just sort of stored somewhere. But when the DVDs were out, I wanted people, I liked people being able to look at it and find all the titles that they liked. And I liked it making sense.
Yeah, it's Block Lublin.
Yeah.
Block Lublin video. Wow, what a difference.
I should have made my own popcorn. Man.
Yeah,
I really
should have made your own
missed out.
popcorn, dude.
Oh, well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if you're sharing collection with other people, I believe personally it's important to organize it in a way that makes it accessible to everyone rather than showing off. I don't know. There's something show-offy about I've organized it by, you don't know how to organize. I organized it by the Iron Man, whoever has the most lines in the comic. So that's the only thing. If you organize it by character in your collection, if you have the Spider-Man and Wolverine graphic novel, where does it go? Does it go in the Spider-Man section or does it go in the Wolverine section?
Yeah. Look, I'm on your team, man. So you got to pick a different category.
That becomes the challenge of that.
Yeah.
There's a difference when you're taking stuff and doing it for retail where Spider-Man's selling right now. So everything with Spider-Man or anything Spider-Man adjacent is going to be in one section. So you're going to see a lot of comic book places this summer. I mean, right now you're probably going to see a lot of Sam Wilson, Falcon, and his Captain America stuff will be out on display, rightly so, because that movie, as of this recording, is about to release. Or Thunderbolts stuff. You're going to see a lot of stuff from those individual characters and also Thunderbolts proper. And then when Fantastic Four is getting ready to come out, you'll see even more prominently displayed the Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom and all the characters.
But that's a retail setting. That's hierarchy.
That's hierarchy for the purposes of commerce.
Mm-hmm.
Part of what's appealing about stores like that is you go in and go like, oh, I love how everything looks in here. I want to have all this stuff in my collection.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to decide how you would do it.
Is that the version of an adult playing with the toys? Is deciding how the collection goes?
I think so. Some people actually will play with. My dad he doesn't like having his comic. He has a very nice comic book collection. Mm-hmm. And he likes to be able to read the books.
Mm-hmm.
Even the older ones.
He wants to put the stickers on his dresser.
Yeah. You can slap them. He doesn't want to harm them. Like he can read them responsibly as an adult without tearing them. He's not going to let like a 3-year-old read his Amazing Spider-Man #1. But like he can look through it and he can read it and it'll remind him of either the first time he read it or just he likes to admire the artwork in it for stuff that came before he was born or before he was really like reading comic books. So that stuff there are a lot of reasons why you might collect things. Like if you're Steve Martin with an art collection that you probably do cycle in and out when it was at its height. I don't know if that's by period or by just specific artist. There are a lot of different ways you can set up a gallery, but that's not stuff you're going to take down and carry somewhere. It's up there to admire. So you're telling a story with what you've put out. For DVDs or for records, if you're over and I want you to put something on, like, hey, can you put on a Beatles out? Like, put on some Beatles. You should be able to go to the collection and look under B and find it really fast.
That's the thing. I think there might be a difference in a collection that's meant to be displayed versus one that's meant to be categorized. You know what I mean? By the way, you mentioning the retail setting, the organizing it for retail. I have always lived my life like at any point someone could walk through the front door, the little bell will go, and I'll be like, oh, take a look around. Ask me about anything you want. I want there to be a museum. I assume this is the gift shop at the end of the museum. So my life needs to be organized for the museum tour of it.
Sure. I get it.
You get it. You know. But at the end of the day, it's for my eyes primarily, if not only. So looking at the latch method again from our friend Richard Saul Wurman in 1990 and location, alphabet, time, category, and hierarchy in everything that you've just described outside of categorizing. I'm going to take categorizing just out of the running right now because that's more of a spreadsheet thing and a packed away boxes thing. But for a collection, for a collector who wants to see the things that they've got, or anybody who wants to easily be able to access whether it's items or anything, files, whatever. The alphabetizing, I think, is the number one for the categorizing of like, you know, a list. But it looks like we're narrowing down on, if not the duo, then one of location and category. Category seems to be so valuable a way to define things that it's used in retail and rental and home organization of your collection. Like your DVD collection is ultimately alphabetized, but it's done within categories.
Because it's in binders. Otherwise it wouldn't be. Because it's put away.
So wait, you have it organized in binders.
Yeah, the binders are organized into genres. And then within it, it's alphabetical. When they were out on giant shelves and stuff, it was purely alphabetical.
Purely alphabetical.
Yes, because if I got new stuff, it just made it easier to slide stuff over. Because if you're adding to your collection, it's just simpler. I think alphabetical is just easier.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you want to be able to organize it so you can access it quickly and other people can access it if you're giving them the ability to check stuff out or hold stuff or play stuff or do whatever. It's just easier that way. Putting stuff out on display to me is less organizing and more decorating. These are all decorations. I'm decorating this office with my collection. I'm not organizing it.
You're organizing the decoration.
Yeah, when I'm the organization is in the spreadsheet where I really know what I have, when I keep an inventory. The DVDs, that is both organized and out for easy access back in the day before I went to binders, which probably was a mistake in terms of the value of the collection, just even trying to sell it or get rid of it.
Yeah.
But
I was saying, you know what, frankly, I was surprised when you said binders. I thought you meant binders of printed spreadsheets because there's no way Hal Lublin's going to throw away the clamshells for all his DVDs.
I did. I threw out all of them. I would snip the paper, or if it was like the snap case, I would snip off the cover. So I have that as one side. So I know what's there. Cause not every DVD has artwork on the front. Some of them, the early ones, especially had the label like right on the inside of the disc, that little ring there. So it was too much, and I was trying to make it smaller, and now I have a ton of binders that take up a ton of space that I just moved again, and it drives me insane. I would the reason why I hold on to them. There's some I keep because the boxes are cool. I have the original Battlestar Galactica in a box that has a 3D Cylon head that comes out of it. I have the original Star Trek series, and they come in these plastic capsules that are really cool. So I wanted to keep those. But if I could upload everything and keep all the special features, that's what I'm afraid of losing. I would love to be able to just access it digitally and have it on a centralized server.
I like having if not a hard copy, then at least an offline copy of anything in my collection of anything, because, movies I like I'm like, oh, I don't need that movie. It's on Netflix, or I don't need that album. It's on Spotify. Albums get pulled off of Spotify all the time. Movies get pulled off of Netflix all the time. So
yep.
I am team have a copy of it offline. I don't necessarily need the physical copy.
If I could put it all on a hard drive, I would. And I think its integrity. That's the hard thing for me. But yeah, I still say alphabetical.
Yeah, well, because alphabetical also, there's another thing you mentioned before, going to a record store, you're looking for a Buck Owens album, and you know that if you go alphabetically and you see, Loretta Lynn, and then the next album is Dolly Parton, alphabetically can show you not only what is there, but what isn't there. So that's another added bonus.
Yeah.
It's an extra little quality control.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think even on my computer, when I have files categorized, when it gets down to the root version of it, at the absolute lowest, when you're at the alveoli of it, it's alphabetized.
The alveoli?
Yeah. When you go from the bronchioles to the, as the air vents get smaller and smaller.
Sure.
You knew what I meant.
Yeah.
I was trying it out. Did it not work?
It's fine for me. People of the world, organize alphabetically. Asked and answered. There are 2 A's for you. How do you like that?
Look at that. Boom.
And they're in reverse alphabetical order. So answered and asked. There you go. I organized it.
Thank you. You clicked that little arrow that was pointed down and clicked it to where it was pointed up.
I sure did.
Good job, Hal. This topic is closed, but there are many more topics to discuss. So please reach out to us via email at wegotThisPodcast@gmail.com, or
you can find us on Blue Sky. We are at We Got This Podcast there, or you can hang out on the Discord, the new greatest place in the internet for all the cool cats. You can find that at bit.ly/WGT Discord. We are happy to see you there. That's DISCORD. If you are a noob to it, you'll be welcomed with open arms. Thank you to producer Ken Plume, researcher Kate McManus, graphic designer Uri Kelman, and QA engineer Jen Alba.
And thanks, of course, to our musicians Jonathan Dinerstein and Mike Furman for our score and theme song, respectively. And thanks to you, the people of the world, who we organize into a hierarchy, except you're all number one. We wouldn't do this without you. We couldn't do it without you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. For Hal Lublin, I'm Mark Gagliardi.
For Mark Gagliardi, I'm Hal Lublin. And don't worry, everybody. We got this.
We got this.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows
supported directly
by you.